It's truly exciting to me that Melina is here. So much of what I do and what I share as a Vedic astrologer is a result of having the privilege of walking with and studying with Vaidya Mishra. So, with that, I want to do a little introduction for Melina. Melina is a PhD and she discovered Ayurveda back in 96 before she even met Vaidya Mishra. And then she met Vaidya Mishra in 1998. And maybe you have some stories for us.
Mhm.
Um, and that took her life in a whole different direction. And in fact, they became married and they built a life together and they built this entire empire around the Shaka Vanshiya lineage and the herbs, and really brought this to us here in the West. Um, and it's truly a great gift and an honor that you're here, Melina. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here today with all of you. What a beautiful community and what a sweet introduction. You literally brought tears to my eyes for so many reasons. And I am also grateful every day to be able to continue Vijay's tremendous legacy, timeless ancient legacy. And, as Vijay himself would say, my own products are saving my life, and that's my experience, that's your experience, and his knowledge as well. So I'm really, really delighted to be here today to share that knowledge and to look at some products also that have helped countless people and that I hope will help all of you as well. So, without further ado, let me share my screen. I've put together some slides for us. There's so much to say. It was really hard for me to put these slides together, but I think we're going to get to the heart of the matter. So we learn in just the little time that we have how to live out our dharma through Vaidya Mishra's teachings and get some practical tips and tools beyond Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. Because whenever we think of Ayurveda, it's usually the doshas that come to mind, which are really a foundational aspect of Ayurveda. But there is so much more to Ayurveda, and Vaidya Mishra brought that to life for us, and it's a practical thing, and it's much more potent than the tridoshic system. So let's just dive in. With gratitude to him and the lineage of healers, we can trace back 14 generations, but the story goes back all the way to Lord Krishna's time. His ancestors flew over the Garuda, which is the mythical bird. They were brought in to heal Lord Krishna's son, Shambh, who had leprosy. They are actually said to be Surya Ansh, so they are part and parcel of the sun. Because this is a Jyotish, convention, we know the importance of the sun in the charts and in Jyotish. And all of the Magha Brahmins, Vaidya's ancestors, including him, were said to be part and parcel of the sun, the body of the sun. And they healed Lord Krishna's son Shambh from leprosy. Anything that has to do with the skin, any ailments or diseases of the skin are cured by and through the sun. So that's their specialty as well. So these, descendants of the sun, Surya, sun god, came to India on the Garuda and stayed and taught and built temples to the sun. And we are grateful to them today and always. Before I delve into how Shaka Vanshiya Ayurveda, the name of Vaidya Mishra's lineage, can help us address our dharma, let's do a quick walkthrough for dharma just to put us in the mood. So, dharma comes from the root dri, which means to support, hold, or bear. So, it's like a foundation, it's a basis, a strong basis on which you can build and flourish. The Monier-Williams dictionary, which is the best source for describing, has a long list of words to describe what dharma is, because dharma does not exist in the English language or any of the modern languages, and it has very wide connotations and significance, also because it is used in different ways in different Vedic texts. So there's layers and layers and explanations. One thing we know, it's a word that not only doesn't have an equivalent, but the concept itself is a Vedic concept, part of that culture, ancient culture. And Vedic doesn't mean just a civilization that lived at a certain point and time. It's actually the fabric of life on earth. Vedic means the vibrational signature that makes up all of life, nature and the planets and everything that we are, that we know. We that hasn't quite dawned on everybody's consciousness yet, but many great masters and gurus have spoken of it in that sense. So it might have a spatial and geographical location, but it's really part of all of us. It's our legacy as humans who are embodied souls here. So because there's different Vedic branches that talk about dharma in different ways, there are different refinements of the meaning that come through. For example, in Jyotish, it's really, Jyotish is a tremendous tool to help guide us find the purpose and meaning of our lives in terms of our professional preferences, our relationships, and it demystifies our entire life from birth to the day we will pass, and guides us towards accomplishing that balance and that sense of happiness that we all seek and we need in order to progress and be in life. So understanding our dharma, though, according to Jyotish, and this is such a beautiful concept, is not just important for our personal ambitions, but it's important for the welfare of the world. Because if we are in our dharma, then the world is also gaining support from everything that we do. And that is such an important and beautiful concept. So dharma really, when we look at it from the Jyotish point of view, is an intersection of the individual with the cosmos. And it's a realignment, not just for the individual's benefits, but for the cosmos's benefits as well. It is a compass that guides us, but it is also a whole new level of being in the world and with the world that nothing else can give us. So Jyotish is not just horoscope, it's not just fortune telling or future telling. It realigns us with the most sacred of actions, dharma. Jyotish and Ayurveda in that sense are sister sciences, in that they both help us and support us discover and confirm our dharma, so that we can live a fulfilled life, which is something we've lost track of in modern Western culture and civilization. We don't know why we're here. We just go through life and then we're gone. That's why there's so many problems with our current modern culture. We're not going to go into that, but that's why even when you are suffering with a terminal illness, or you're just kept alive but suffering through medications and modern medicine, they are now introducing the option to allow you to terminate things. And things gain a new light and meaning when you look at things from the Vedic perspective and you look at it from the dharmic perspective. So it's such an important thing for us to remember nowadays and to study. Ayurveda is literally translated as Ayu, life, and Veda, the science of life. But I put science in quotation marks because it's not an intellectual thing. It's actually an experiential thing. So when you learn of the precepts, you get to live them. And when you live them, it's an experience that takes you to new levels of awareness. So, Ayurveda gives us practical tools to help support our health, whether it's in the body, the mind, the heart, and the soul, because it has such a vast grasp on everything that entails life. It has teachings about even healing the soul. And yes, the soul can be healed. That's not something that, it's a concept that's foreign to us. The soul is supposed to be perfect, but there are actually things that you can do to cleanse the light of the soul. And we can talk about that. So, what does Ayurveda teach us about Dharma, and how can it help us find a Dharma and stay on track in our Dharma? This is the question, basically, that we want to look at and address today. So, Dharma in the Charak Samhita, which is a foundational canonical text for Ayurveda, is defined or approached as such. The sutra says, Dharmartha kama mokshanam arogyam moolam uttamam. So, there's 4 purusharthas. Purush artha means desires for purush, which means an embodied human being. Dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So dharma, we can just refer to as our duty, our responsibilities in this life. Kama, desire to have and to be with others and to accumulate wealth. Dharma, artha, desires. Kama, being in relationships and, having a wide range of things that are desirable to have our lives as humans. And then eventually just closing that chapter and desiring moksha, liberation from the bondage of this body, which is limited by time and space. So these are the 4 purusharthas. But arogyam, roga is disease. Arogyam is the absence of disease. Arogyam is the uttamam, is the best thing that can be desired. So for dharma to be present and for us to live a dharmic life, arogya, health, is the primary precondition and is the best thing to seek before you can actually embark on it. So in order to, be on the path of dharma, Ayurveda teaches us and tells us we need to seek health first. And again, remember, health is not just for the body because you may be physically healthy. It's also for the heart, for the mind, and for the soul. So we're going to see what that means. So in practical terms, if you look at Ayurveda, like the ABC of Ayurveda, you have to take into consideration the diet. It has to be seasonal and also daily. You don't eat for breakfast what you should be eating for lunch. You don't eat for lunch what you should be eating for dinner. Then there's exercise or movement of the body to keep the shrotas healthy. There's the need for sleep. And, all of these support dharma and the dharmic life. If you don't eat properly, you don't sleep properly, and, you're depressed, you're not going to be able to be in your path and, perform your dharmic actions. Then maintaining, limitations, not overdoing, not underdoing, not indulging in excessive behavior and activities so that we can also remain on track. Compassion and empathy towards all human beings and creatures is also important to, being in the environment where we are and, impacting that environment. So these are the basic foundational things that, we think of when we think of Ayurveda in terms of dharma. And then the doshas come into play with the different elements, and based on what your dosha is, you get to eat a specific diet that will support your health, therefore your dharma. But today I want to tell you something that's beyond the doshas that Vaidya taught us. So, because sometimes what happens is we get stuck in the doshas, which are very detailed oriented. They are very precious knowledge that has transformed even the way we see the body and health and happiness here in the West. I mean, if there are doshic products being sold at, mainstream stores like the Body Shop, then you know that Ayurveda has had an impact in our lives here, right? But we want to go beyond that today because there's something very precious and important that Vaidya gave us. So, but again, cleaning the food, if we want to also share something precious that Vaidya gave us in terms of food and its relationship to the soul. So Ayurveda can heal not just the body, but it can heal the soul. And Vaidya had actually detailed teachings about how the soul is different layers, if you want, of the soul. The maybe eternal aspect of the soul, which is like a gem that is untouched and that is pure, but then it is surrounded by vibrational layers. These are non-material layers that can impede the soul from shining its light bright. So there are foods, herbs, and a diet that you can adopt and keep that can not just help your body and your mind, but that can also clean the light of your soul, which also accelerates your dharmic work. So this is something, that you need to do the courses because it's very deep and beautiful, and we won't be able to go into it. But here is some of Vaidya's most favorite fruits and edibles. Does anybody recognize any of these? Do you want to say what they are? Yes?
Amla berry.
Oh, yeah. That's the amla berry on the left, yes. And the amla berry was one of Vaidya's favorites. It's an incredible fruit that has 5 of the 6 tastes, possible tastes. So it's extremely balancing. And it has, beyond that, divine properties that Vaidya said clean the light of your soul. So if you have some subtle karmic load that you're carrying in your sattva, the amla berry can actually eradicate those. So you definitely, regardless of what dosha you are in, amla is good for you, and there's many ways of consuming it, and we can talk about it later on during after my presentation. What about what other plant does anybody recognize on this page?
Looks like some moringa.
Say
And
that
maybe
again.
some guduchi.
Guduchi is known by so many names, and one of the best ones is Amrita, which means eternal, immortal. It bestows immortal life. When after the battle with Ravana, Lord Ram looked around on the battlefield, and it was just filled with the corpses of the bears and the monkeys who had fought in his army and secured the victory so that he could salvage Sita from the grips of Ravana. And he cried and he prayed to Lord Indra, and Lord Indra heard his prayer, and he sprinkled down drops of Amrit, which is the nectar of immortality, from heaven. And the drops that fell on the corpses of the bears and the monkeys were resuscitated. They all came back to life. And the drops that fell on the soil sprouted into the Amrita or the Guduchi plant. There's nothing that the Guduchi plant cannot cure, and it can grow without water and without soil. You can just hang it from the ceiling in your room without sunlight or anything because it's so full of prana. And it's a wonderful, wonderful plant that helps also clean the sattva and restore dharmic or dharma in your body. What about the middle seeds that you see? Any guesses? Yes? Anybody?
Either nutmeg or black cardamom.
Close, but not.
No secret.
So this is Haritaki. Haritaki is Lord Shiva's favorite plant, and it's called Patya because it keeps you on the path. Haritaki is another one that has so many incredible healing and balancing properties that go beyond the physical body. And it's one of those things that you can also take. See, Amla, Guduchi, and Haritaki, these are things that you can do on a daily basis in different dosages, of course, but they are wonderful things that you can do. So in addition, to keeping a balanced diet for your dosha and doing, all the other not getting engaged in excessive or less activity and all that, these are some, practical things that you can adopt and incorporate to help you on your dharma, because these are truly sacred plants. Another very beautiful thing that also goes beyond vata, pitta, and kapha is realigning ourselves with the sun. There's so much fear about the sun nowadays. It causes cancer, it causes this and that. Everybody's protecting themselves against the sun, wearing hats and shades and all of that. But we need the sun so badly. And luckily, there's a lot of new research and new doctors that have an amazing, vision, that are also, delving into ancient knowledge, that are coming up with new conclusions that show us how important the sun is. Of course, it's important not to, scorch yourself and burn yourself up. But when you expose yourself to the sun is key. Vaidya used to say, the morning sun, 15 minutes of exposure, like in the early morning sun. Waking up before the sun is very important for activating your body's hormones and, resetting your body's chemistry for the day. And then going out and just looking at the sun. If you can look at the sun in the morning without hurting your eyes, it means you're looking at the right time, because it's still soft and it's just light. It's not going to hurt you. And being in that light will send signals to your brain, to your body's chemistry, and your whole day, not just your digestive system, but all your chemical processes will be on the correct footing. And if you do that, at least a few times a week, then there's no way you can get sick, especially if you're waking up 60 to 90 minutes before the sun. So it's also very beautiful and significant because, like I said in the beginning, Vaidya comes from the sun lineage. So it's a very beautiful way of paying homage to an incredible master by taking the sun's darshan first thing in the morning. Another thing, so besides doshas, diet, lifestyle, therefore, what is one thing that Vaidya Mishra taught and emphasized over and over again, that, let's say, you can't find the fruits, you can't keep the doshic diet, you have a, very hectic professional or whatever life, and it's just not possible for you to stick, sometimes it gets too much into detail in terms of the diet or the lifestyle, your sleep is disrupted, all of those things, and there's no sun in the mornings where you live. I'm just making stuff up, but what is one thing that he said we should pay attention to? And this is where Vaidya took things to the next level, honestly, in terms of Ayurveda and how it was taught, not just in the USA, but in India too, because Nobody talks about it this way. Any guesses? Anybody? You want to venture?
Meditation.
Meditation, yes, but one key word.
Prana.
You got it. Prana. So before Vaidya, we all thought of prana as the breath of life, and it is the breath of life. But that's it. Like, we didn't have tools to be able to think about it in any other way so that we could harness its power. We didn't have any insights into what it could be or what it actually was. Vaidya literally transformed this teaching, the teaching of Ayurveda, through reintroducing. He didn't make anything. He never made anything up. It was all coming from, the Shastras and the texts. And they're always there. It's just that, over time, they have also been fragmented. Some stuff has been lost. But he had the teaching because their lineage was continuous and it was passed down through generations. So his teaching of prana changes everything. And he also taught where prana comes from and how prana transforms and materializes into the reality of life, whether it's on earth or, in the cosmos. So prana is truly the most refined level or layer of existence, as you can see in this poster, that emerges at the very refined level of vibrational reality, where there is the hum, om, that is humming in the universe, and where nothing else yet exists. From that hum, which is causing slight friction, prana comes into being. And then prana itself, things go from the unmanifest to the manifest, and prana, as it manifests into more gross material, then manifests into the three tattvas, which are Soma, Agni, and Marut, which then give rise to the 5 elements, which then gives rise to the senses in our bodies, and finally the doshas in our bodies. So if you want to use Ayurveda, and that's what we've been doing, is to use Ayurveda to help stay in balance so that we can be on our dharma. We're working with Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. But see how lower it is on this level of things. It's on the more material level. So you're constantly going to be running, depending on the seasons and the time of day, balancing Vata, balancing Kapha, then Pitta goes off, and then you go back to this and you go back to that. But if you go higher and you actually grab things at a more subtle level, at the level of prana, then everything will get balanced on its own. So this is basically the key. This is the idea behind seeking prana, so that you have levels of Soma, Agni, and Marut that do not go off in your body. Everybody's born with a different amount of Soma, Agni, and Marut. When those go off, then you get Kapha dosha, Pitta dosha, Vata dosha. Dosha means error, something that's gone off. So you have more Soma, you have more Agni, you have more Marut, but the dosha is when they have gone off. So if you want to correct them, you bring in more prana and they literally auto-correct. So this is just a quick, venture into this beautiful concept. So our bodies are really vehicles we are embodied souls. So we are vibrational energy. And the only way, that we move around and we are alive and kicking, as the expression goes, is because of prana. So our bodies thrive through prana. When the prana leaves, then our bodies, decompose, and then our souls fly away. So when our prana is compromised, we get sick. So if you look at things from this perspective, then you can see how learning how to harness and work with prana is actually a more intelligent way of actually holding on to our health and being in our dharma. So securing prana and its flow in the body. Because one of Vaidya Mishra's favorite definitions of life, Ayu, was Deha Prana Samyoge Ayuhu. Life is the flow of prana. So when prana is flowing, then life is good. When prana is encumbered or, in any way obstructed, then disease arises. When prana leaves, then we are no longer. So there's many ways beyond the breath that you can harness prana. For the breath, we do pranayama, of course, and any kind of pranayama is better than no pranayama. Then there's prana in our food. Vaidya Mishra was so funny. He had a great sense of humor. And seeing, the types of foods that we have available in our culture nowadays, he categorized it into intelligent, dumb, and dead foods. So intelligent food is the food that has the most prana. It's freshly picked fruits and vegetables that have not been processed, that are available to you, that have also been grown without chemicals. Dumb food was the food that was like, okay, there's some prana in there, but not 100%. Maybe it's that leftover that you couldn't throw away because it was just too good and you don't really have time to cook again the next day. So you're just gonna, it's okay. You're just gonna reheat it and eat it. So it has some prana, but not really. And then there's dead foods, highly processed, preserved, aged in a bad way, not in a good way. And those are like purely toxic. So you start looking at foods not just in terms of, oh, this is going to like aggravate my kapha, this is going to aggravate my vata, or it's too sour, too pungent, my pitta is going to go through the roof. No. Look at things in terms of how much prana the food has. And then there's a lot of details, we can do courses about that. So that's, prana in your food. Prana in the environment nowadays, oh my God, it's not just about being in nature and not living in the city, but it's about protecting ourselves from EMF. EMF has become and it's growing more and more because things are becoming more and more complex with our computers and the technology and the radiation, and we're becoming addicted to our devices, not like in a way of their, entertainment, but they're becoming necessary for everything, anywhere we go. So it's really, I don't know, Vaidya, we have courses on EMF and prana, and we offer a lot of help, but at some point we all have to turn off our routers and protect ourselves from the neighbors' routers and make sure that our body gets a break at night. Especially there are things that you can do. Expose yourself to more soma by being in the moonlight when the moon is full, walking on the beach with bare feet on the sand, hugging trees. But prana in the environment is also very important. So basically, if you don't have enough prana in the environment, it's going to be hard for you to stay on track with your dharma. Prana in our hearts has to do with loving relationships, having our heart lotus, blossom. And that's an altogether other topic that we can talk about, but I'm gonna talk about that in a few minutes as well. So this is, a quick look at how prana is such a key, aspect. And in this image, we have, so prana travels through the nadis, which are vibrational channels. And there are literally countless vibrational channels. We have two types of channels, the physical shrotas, and then the vibrational channels, which are invisible and they are subtle, and we have countless. So in this image, it really illustrates very well how we are really, our senses are only limited to the physical, but we are truly, energy. And restoring prana, making sure that it's coming through us and it enters through the adipati marma and flows in, nurtures, nourishes us, and then has to be evacuated. Making sure that that flow is happening is key to us maintaining our mental, physical, emotional sanity, literally. So if you're following, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, but prana is not part of the equation, it's not going to work. But if you're following prana, but not doing Vata, Pitta, Kapha, you will still get benefit. That's how powerful it is. So when it flows unhindered, it restores our body to fullness. When our bodies are pranically charged, we become immortal. That's how, the yogis living in the Himalayas for extended periods of time, that's the secret. It's prana. They have learned how to harness and keep prana longer in the body. Arogyam is a state of pranic balance. And with health, the 4 objectives of life can be fulfilled seamlessly. When you have enough prana, then dharma, artha, kama, and moksha are there for you. They come knocking on your door. You don't even have to go after them. So Ayurvedically speaking, we saw how, environment, food, all those things help us restore and, maintain prana. Vaidya Mishra did make a beautiful line of products he called Prana Balance that supports the nadis, the vibrational channels, cleanses them of any gunk that might have accumulated there, and readies them to receive more restorative prana. And depending on which, whether the transdermal cream or the roll-on, they work immediately, and you breathe better, but you'll feel it's an experiential thing. So they have, beautiful herbs in them, and the way he put things together, so they balance each other out, so they don't need, any other ingredients to preserve. So it preserves itself pranically. So I invite you to explore, the prana flow. So before I share my final thoughts with you, I want to talk a little bit about our dharma. Whenever we go to see, to have a Jyotish reading, usually we have a little bit of anxiety, and I think this is something, that you might have already talked about, Swati, in your other workshops, or you're probably going to address. I heard you talk about it in the earlier session as well. There has to be compassion in the Jyotishi. We are all here because we have some karma, and everybody's karma is just this beautiful expression, geno karmana gati. The ways of karma are mysterious. Even the best amongst us have sometimes just really scary karma to address. And our dharmic path is not necessarily easy. And I'm not just saying this because the Shastras give us tons of stories about extraordinary individuals who had really very strange karmic load, and their dharma was hard. So, there's an element of the heart that was part and parcel of Vaidya Mishra's Ayurvedic teachings that is not addressed in elsewhere as well, the way he did, and is such an important aspect of one's dharma and mental and overall health. And that's what I would like to talk about quickly here. So Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, he was a wonderful, tremendous warrior who had unbelievable skills and tools. And he was faced with the greatest dilemma as a warrior. His enemies were his own extended family, and he was just completely disarmed. He could not, fulfill his dharma as a warrior, as a soldier of truth and justice, because life put him in the most difficult situation. And luckily, Lord Krishna was his guide and mentor. And the teachings that unfold to help Arjuna get back on his dharma and fulfill his role as a warrior is, the Bhagavad Gita. So it's better to do your dharma no matter how hard it is. And all of us have, met with this situation at some point in our lives. And if we haven't yet, it's coming. I can assure you. It's that point, that transforms us. Doing your dharma, no matter what you think of it, when you know it's your dharma, because it's looking at you in the face, is better than doing somebody else's dharma that might be easier or more glamorous. And the Bhagavad Gita is all about that, and it's very inspiring. So Ayurveda is not just about herbs and, churnas and, bastis and all of that. I remember clients would come to see Vaidya, and they would be expecting, herbal preparations and recipes and all kinds of things. And sometimes Vaidya would just spend, an hour or an hour and a half telling them stories. And they would go and they would come back, in 3-4 weeks, and they would be transformed, because that would awaken another level in them and open their hearts to their own healing. So this is a very important aspect also of, the Ayurvedic healing. In this note, and this is like the most beautiful thing for me also, all these stories of incredible personalities in the Vedic tradition are also associated with plants and herbs. So look at this. The Arjuna bark and the Arjuna plant is named after the warrior Arjuna, who had to go through that most difficult moment of his life and gain that strength to fulfill his dharma. That courage that he was lacking, that he was missing. We all come to a point in our lives where we just cannot take it anymore. Dharma or no dharma, who cares? But then Ayurveda says, wait, I have something for you, and gives us this incredible tree and the bark of that tree. And Vaidya captured that. So different, things, when you ingest them orally, they have to be processed through your liver, the stomach, and, digested. And in this day and age, all of us are, it's just a big challenge because of so many factors. So he made things transdermally. So the Arjuna roll-on is an incredible product that restores the strength in your heart by, you just apply it on specific marma points, or you can just put it on your pulse or on your chest, and it will give you the strength that, Arjuna needed to fight his own kin, his own family on the battlefield to fulfill his dharma righteously. So this is one beautiful story, and there's more. This is Sita. It's AI generated, but I thought she looked like she was really expressing the grief and the pain that she had to go through being separated from her beloved divine husband. Ravana offered her all his palaces and riches in the world. They are at your feet, my lady. Just be my wife. And she said, no, I do not want anything you have to offer me. And she chose the garden of Ashoka trees, the trees that you see in the image, Ashok Vatika. And she spent her days and nights under those trees, waiting for Lord Ram to come and save her from Ravana. And guess what? The Ashoka tree is incredible for healing and soothing the heart. And it's also anti-inflammatory. So when we are faced with a really difficult situation, and mind you, Sita was the incarnation and embodiment of goddess Lakshmi, because Lord Ram was the incarnation of Lord Vishnu. They had come here, I guess, as bodhisattvas, as the Buddhist tradition says, to help, others, because they were perfect beings. But being born into a family, they carried the karmic load coming down through their descendants. So they also had to suffer. So here's another extraordinary woman who is perfection embodied, and she had to go through the hardest, most trying trials as a woman. And in order to go through that, she sat under the Ashoka tree. So here's another beautiful formulation, transdermal again by Vaidya, that captures the essence of the Ashoka tree and the plant. For when you are going through extreme emotional turmoil while having to fulfill your dharma on your path on earth. There's another one, and this is Brahmi, and it helps us. The actual Brahmi plant no longer exists. It is extinct because the environment on earth does not allow for it to be here. Its vibration is too pure. But Vaidya put together two different kinds of Brahmi to restore all the properties of the Brahmi plant. And the Brahmi plant gives us discrimination, and it allows our mind to connect with the eternal mind, so that we need that discrimination when we are in our dharma, on our dharmic path, to make the right choices to lead us to moksha. Last but not least is Tulsi, another incredible story of a young woman. She was of age to be married, and her father was ready and asked her who she liked, who she wanted, and she said she would only marry the perfect man, and she listed all the properties of what that man should be like, and they were, of course, all the properties and characteristics of none other than God himself, Lord Vishnu. And her father said, "Daughter, there's no way such a man exists here and now." She said, "I do not care. I only want to be wed to him." And she started praying and doing her tapas for a long, long time. Finally, Lord Vishnu appeared to her one day, and she professed her love. Sadly, and this was her dharma, Lord Vishnu said, "I cannot marry you. I know you love me a lot, but you cannot be my wife because I am already married to Lakshmi." I mean, how much of a heartbreak is that? Talk about dharma. So I would have been devastated, but death is never the answer, because death also has its limitations. You will not be freed from suffering. But Lord Vishnu promised her, because he was very moved by her devotion, her true love for him. He said, "You will come back as the Tulsi plant, and no one will ever worship me or think of me without thinking of you and worshiping you." In India, you find the Tulsi plant in every household, and they do parikrama, go around the Tulsi plant every day. The Tulsi plant is such a beautiful plant. It gives you discrimination. It opens your mind and aligns it with your soul's light. So sometimes, there's fog, there's some, lack of clarity. The Tulsi is what you need. So it will really set you and keep you on your dharmic path, basically. So here's another beautiful, story of a challenging dharma with the most beautiful result, and how, Ayurveda can help us with dharma. So basically, we are all looking for happiness, and that's the nature, because that's our true innate condition, is boundless cosmic happiness. And where life puts restrictions and limitations on us, but we're all looking for that. And any difficulties that arise are just temporary to help us access and exceed to the next level of happiness that cannot come. And Ayurveda will help us, can help us get there by either, going through the route of the doshas, or going through the route of prana, and using the herbs to, live who we are and become who we really are. We are like I said, embodied souls, and our connection to the universe is just greater than we can imagine. When we get lost in the small things that through the sensory, organs, then we lose track of the big picture of who and what we are. But Vaidya Mishra restored that big picture for us by re-enlivening the knowledge of prana and teaching us how to harness it in our daily lives. He taught us a very simple technique that he called the Samadhi Marma, which helps calm down the mind and bring it to a state of samadhi, which is balance, equanimity, that you can do like in 3 to 5 minutes. And I would like to, finish my talk today by introducing you to this technique. I can't teach it to you because it takes, longer than what we have today, but just for you to be aware of. So what it does is it uses the marma points in our body. You can think of the marma points like electrical switches that you turn on and off to get the power of electricity in a room or shut it down in a room. Just like that, we have marma switches in our bodies, and they bring in prana. You can turn it on or off. And in this course, he taught us how to really bring in prana using those herbs that I showed you, either Ashoka or Arjuna, Tulsi, Brahmi, and the prana flow for more prana and to settle down the mind within minutes and get the prana flowing. And then your whole perspective changes. It's an experiential thing. Here's a short video I will play. It's like a 2-minute long.
This body is the city of Brahman. Within it is an abode in the shape of a lotus. And within that, there is a small space. One must search within this space and earnestly desire to know what is there. The space in the heart is as big as the space outside. Heaven and earth are both within it. So also fire and air. The sun and the moon, lightning and the stars. Whatever in this world exists or does not exist, all rests within that space, in the embodied self. Re-enliven the flow of cosmic prana into your heart lotus, body, and mind through the use of marma points in order to achieve a state of blissful samadhi, as taught by Vaidya Mishra.
So getting more prana, re-enlivening the prana in our heart lotus, which will connect us to our cosmic self through the use of the herbs also. So Ayurveda is on our side, the roll-ons. That will secure, and this is an image of some of the knowledge that you get in that course, where you are taught where the marma points are and how to touch them and how to use the products, so that our heart lotus is full of soma, our mind is in samadhi, it's settled, and everything is as it is meant to be, and then we desire what we deserve. This is like the most mystical thing I used to hear Vaidya say. He used to love this expression, is sometimes we desire things that are not good for us. They may look like they are, but they actually harm us. So desiring what we deserve, whether it's glam or a little less than glam, is what it's all about. And, having Ayurveda's support to have that discrimination and to be full of prana and so arogya, so healthy that none of it matters, and we embrace our dharma, no matter how hard it seems to us. That's what it's really all about, and how Ayurveda can help us. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and it was just lovely being here with you today and sharing the knowledge. Thank you.